Welcome
to A Girl, a Guy, and a Buffy podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Charles Swint.
And I'm your other host, Kate Balzer.
We're two friends who've been watching Buffy since the beginning. We are not a rewatch podcast, and we explore the big bad themes of the show. This podcast is full of spoilery goodness, so if you have not watched the entire series and don't want to be spoiled, press pause now. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Charles.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're going to do a little mailbag. We got our first listener email, and we're so excited about that. It's been very fun.
Jazz hands.
Yes. It's been a lot of fun. You know, we're very excited, and people are listening, which is great. And not only listening, but responding. And so it's really great. And we got a wonderful, lovely, thoughtful email from listener Ramona, who had this to say. Kate, do you want to read that?
Yeah, Ramona was responding to our two-parter finale about redemption, which she says, I really enjoyed the two-parter on redemption. Kudos. However, I have a question about the humans, Faith, Willow, and Andrew. Each has killed other humans, but only Faith sees going to jail as part of her redemption. Jail is never mentioned for either Willow or Andrew. Even when Buffy thought she had killed Katrina, she was going to turn herself in. Or does Willow get a pass because Warren was also a killer? And Andrew get a pass because by the time he's in Buffy's control, the rest of Sunnydale is falling apart. So great questions, great topic.
Yes, thank you for that. It gives you a lot to think about.
Yeah, it really does.
I think some of this is practical, obviously. There's a lot of practical things around it, you know, storytelling-wise and all of those things. But it does mean, I think some of the easier things is because it is about the magic and it being unregulated with everything that happens. But then there's also very much the idea of where were the bodies? Like, without a body, there's no crime. And so, like, how do they really... Are they able to turn themselves in? Willow can't because there is no body. There's no body literally anywhere. You know, so it's hard to do. I mean, if they could find the body, if they could find Jonathan's body, then maybe. But I think Ramona makes a really good point that, like, by the time we get to, you know, Andrew, them finding Andrew and everything like that, we've got all the potentials. There's no time to be like, let's take this guy in and then explain that, oh, he like took him to the school basement and killed this guy and, you know, with his dagger, and then, you know, they would have needed the dagger to close the seal, and then it would have become police evidence. Like, I think logistically there's a lot of things, and they also needed Andrew to read the language on the dagger and close the seal and do all of those things. And you're right, Ramona, Sunnydale is like completely fallen apart by this point, and so I think the easier option for them was just to hold him as a hostage or a guestage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think what the show demonstrates is you can't apply the human legal system to the supernatural. Particularly supernatural as it relates to magic. And this is why we talked about it in one of our other episodes this season about how magic is probably the most misused tool in the Buffyverse, particularly on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, even more so than on Angel. And so, yeah, there's just no legitimate way to hold Willow and Andrew accountable because magic is involved in their crimes. Whereas Faith and Buffy, even though we know Buffy didn't actually commit a crime, but when she thinks she has, those are very human crimes. Those are prosecutable. You can, have a police go after them, collect evidence, at least on the crimes they commit against a human. Obviously, the demon that Faith kills to get the Books of Ascension, the police are not going to prosecute her or investigate that crime. That would be what a Slayer would investigate. That's why Buffy says that. I think at some point in one of the episodes, she talks about the fact that human legal system can't account for some of this, and that's why the Slayer exists. Typically, she thinks she's going after demons. I think, as we talked about in our misuse of magic episode, there needs to be some sort of system to hold magic users accountable when they misuse magic, particularly when they misuse magic in large scale and severe ways. And a perfect example of that is Xander. So first there's what he gets Amy to do in Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. But even more so than that is the death he causes by at least one that we know of, that we see on screen, by summoning sweets in the musical episode. Somebody literally burns to death because they dance to death. And yet it's never talked about. Xander's never yelled at, held accountable in any way for what he does.
Yeah. And it's funny because thinking about that scene happens, the person burns up, and then the next scene is them walking down the street. Giles is explaining to them, and you can, it's something that I never really noticed before until, you mentioned it there. But, it feels like Xander's really much backpedaling on this. He knows that he's cast the spell, and so he's trying to distance the spell from this. He was like, are we sure these two things are related? Because we're, and we're not really sure of anything. We can deduce that these two things are related. And so it's interesting that he does not, it's not interesting, it's his modus anyway, that he doesn't take accountability for anything. But at some point you would think that Xander would be like, okay, hold on, you guys. So here's the thing that I did, this little thing that I did, and maybe it could be connected. So, but then we wouldn't have the rest of the episode, obviously. But I mean, it's right there, Xander. It's clearly that but he's not held accountable. No one says anything to him once he reveals that he cast the spell in the first place.
Yeah, not at all. I think you're right. I think I'm going to give the show the benefit of the doubt, and that they were doing it from a perspective of Andrew not holding himself accountable to his actions, and also trying to disassociate and try to backpedal his way out of it. Maybe that this doesn't have anything to do with what I did in his own head. Keep having those thoughts, which is in line with Xander's character. That it's not uncharacteristic. So it does work, but yeah, it does seem a little ridiculous. But also at the same time, it doesn't. It, like I said, it does seem within Xander's character because he only confesses when his life is in danger. He doesn't even do it when they know Dawn is being held. He doesn't step up. For the guy who's supposed to be the heart and kind of the emotional backbone of the Scoobies, he goes from one end to the other, because he definitely can be that, but man, can he also go the other way. And I think Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, although I understand that a little more because he is so hurt at being dumped by Cordelia on Valentine's Day, in front of friends. But the whole thing with Sweets is just so unforgivable. And the fact that we just had Giles calling out Willow and for the resurrection spell, where's that Giles for the
right? This was really dangerous and potentially could have had Dawn taken away or dying again. That was that those options were on the table. So
right.
And all of that, he says nothing. I mean, the man spends a lot of time in denial.
Yes, he does.
It is not just a river. Xander's whole character personality.
And I would say it's also the theme of season 6.
That's true. Yeah. You're right.
When you think about it, if you break all the characters down, from all of them, even Giles, the fact that Giles, I know this is getting off topic, but the fact that Giles sends Buffy off in that episode to stand on her own because he thinks that's her problem.
Right, that she just needs to toughen up a little bit, Cookie. Little lady, you just need to put your shoulder to the wheel and,
Come on that, I did think of this before, but on that theme of denial, we know that's also the disease in Sunnydale. Going back to why the cops wouldn't go after certain criminal actions particularly of the supernatural nature. We know that they all live in a state of denial. So it's Sunnydale's disease, for sure. It
must be so crazy to be a police officer in Sunnydale, to be
yes,
what is happening? Missing people all the time. The death rate is out of control. All these young... Yeah. They have got to be... I wonder what those meetings are like at the police precinct. When they do roll call and they're like, okay, guys, it's another night out there. Just be safe. Be careful.
Watch out for all those barbecue forks that seem to end up in people's necks.
Right. There's somebody out there. They're looking for a serial killer who's excuse people in the necks with barbecue tongs.
Or they're looking for Cujo, all the puppy bites, the angry puppy bites.
It's so, you're right. The denial is crazy. Those gas leaks that cause the hallucinations for all the monsters running around.
Yeah.
Come on, citizens of Sunnydale. Look where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Ramona, we got a little sidetracked there, but we hope that was still interesting as well. Because because we did love your email and it definitely got us thinking. And we could definitely talk about, as we do have a podcast, we could obviously talk about Buffy forever, but we could definitely talk about the questions of redemption and what each character does or does not do for forever. So we would definitely love to talk about these things more. We loved hearing from Ramona. So we would love to hear from you. Send us your deep thoughts, hot takes on Buffy. And if you do have a thought, you can email us at abuffypodcast@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at abuffypodcast. Another great way to support the podcast is to send this episode to a fellow Buffy fan and to rate and review us on your favorite podcasting platform. By doing this, you'll help the podcast reach more people. Bye.
Bye.